So, day 2 of this update. So, I decided to start from the beginning on myself and the reason that I decided to embark on this journey of consciousness and self awareness from the jump and what led me here, to give you kind of an overview of the life story, if you will. So, mind you, I was emancipated at 14, so I didn't really have a childhood, which is for many reasons why I'm often misunderstood, because I learned at a very young age to be both my protector, because I never really got to experience a sense of innocence, which is why I worked so hard for it as an adult. But anyway, nevertheless, I was born to two extremely unaware humans who were not conscious of self. I did so happen to get the best of both of those humans. My father, very traditional. My mother, a little more mystical, creative, passionate, outspoken. I was exposed to a lot of unconscious feminine and masculine energy at a young age. With that being said, here we are now. I experienced a lot of childhood abuse, sexual, verbal, physical, emotional, mental. I was in and out of the safe house twice. When I say childhood, I didn't have much of one. So anyway, fast forward, I was married at 16. I had my first baby, was a military wife. Naturally, what do? As you know, a wounded, unconscious energy, we want to have the family that we never had. Long story short, fast forward throughout those deployments, had beautiful, beautiful humans. I ended up being single for just 2.5 years and experienced my first spiritual connection in between. This was my first death to self. I have Scorpio in my love sector, so I die to self in terms of love. So I ended up marrying my youngest child's father, where we amicably decided to go our separate ways due to differences of lifestyle preference. We were both in the same industry. We were both pretty conscious. I wanted to go a different route. I realized, as most people do, you want to provide the life that you never had for your humans. And of course, I had the job, I had the career, we had the home, we had the lifestyle, we had the things. But after mastering all of this, I realized that the things of this world were not going to go very, very far, right? So trying to undo the earthly programming, if you will, it's very important, I believe, to navigate the soul path accordingly and not to program my humans to any specific belief of my personal self, but for them rather to figure out their own awareness of self and their own connection with spirit in their own way. So throughout this journey of minimalism, we decided to sell the home, move out into the woods, if you will, and kind of went on the road, traveled quite a bit. It was a very tumultuous time. I didn't have the COVID support, so I was living strictly off of savings at this point, and got involved with humanitarian work. I got involved with the book writing, all of those good things. So there was a little bit of good that come out of the bad testimony that I have mentioned quite a few times during this journey. But that all occurred from the time until the time I was 26. So my sleeping, wounded self need to master the things of this world, right? And master the things of this world for my humans. And that was done. You know, there was a lot of work put into the career, a lot of work put into the home, a lot of work put into the image of the world, but the soul was still starving. And, you know, when you realize your humans are of that age, and at the time I had sole custody of all of my humans. So I took that responsibility extremely seriously, and I really focused a lot on trying to ensure that they didn't experience any trauma, if at all possible. So I worked overtime to try to prevent that to the best of my ability. But just so you can understand, I am now 32. So for the last 4 years, I have quite the Alice in Wonderland story. But my testimony throughout that time frame of life to the age of 26 is one that's otherworldly. It's definitely a spiritual journey. Throughout most of the trauma endured at a young age, I did somehow find myself always in a church. My Nana is German. My Papa was a preacher. I was with them often. And if I wasn't with them, I was with aunt and uncle, and they were into missionary work, and he was also a preacher. So somehow through all of that, my consciousness was always very shielded, right? But I did not have the proper direction, the proper guidance, the standard conscious parenting that most humans have. But what I did have is a divine connection that I absolutely believe in. I'm a fluent believer in energy, which is why I like my stones. No, I'm not, what is his name? Albert Einstein, but they do carry energy accordingly. So anyway, that ultimately is what led me here, what led me on this path. And just to say that you can endure all of those things for a space, but you aren't defined by them. Like, I can recall that I experienced these events, but I do not identify myself as a person who is labeled as, let me come to my conscious self. I do not identify as a person who is labeled by the trauma. My last relationship actually helped me heal the remnants of said trauma endured, because the tumultuous activity really recalled my childhood patterns, and so it forced me to fast forward a lot of that healing. So I'm grateful for that situation and those circumstances. But anyway, nevertheless, you know, I talk about Bunny and I talk about Jelly Roll and their testimony, and how they're out here and they're utilizing that and transforming it. And ultimately, it's the grounds to show that the world needs to heal, right? The vibration of the planet needs to heal. And this is so much more than just going into a building on Sundays if you're not acknowledging and, you know, rather than passing judgment and trying to bring everyone into harmony in such a divided, you know, sector on earth. It's important to acknowledge that these real things occur, and it doesn't make a human any less of themselves. They are responsible for what they choose to do with the experience that was thrown upon them, if you will. So here's to accountability, evolution of self, healing, growth, and awareness, and just coming into space with our present body rather than our wounded body. And I think that that's really important. Most of your life coaches you see, most of your healers or self-healers still identify, and I made this mistake, as a wounded energy, because they're still very much attached to the events that occurred and the trauma that occurred. And I had a heavy event that occurred a few years ago. And it's taken me a lot of time to detach from the how, and really try to just embody the shift or the transition or what can be done with this, right? Not so much from a mind space, but from just a space of being. So anyway, I look forward to it. There was my day 2, and here we go. Let's kick this off, yeah?